and welcome back to the Murder, She Wrote Rewatch podcast. Today is going to be our next episode, the fourth in my little series, Hooray for Homicide. Our wonderful Jessica Fletcher, who we see right at the beginning. It shows her house down in Cabot Cove, and there's somebody rocking in a rocking chair, and somebody stalks up behind and with a cord in hand and tries to strangle. And then we see it's Jessica with the cord and a pair of gardening gloves on. And it's just a dummy in the rocking chair. And she pauses as she's strangling this dummy and then is like, no, that's not going to work. Heads back into her kitchen saying that she's going to try the bayonet. Go back to the bayonet because it's just, less fuss. Meanwhile, Ethan, you may remember him from the second episode, Captain Ethan Craig, is there fixing Jessica's sink. And she's just like, she starts yelling at him because he's making noise and is like, Ethan, I'm trying to write here. And he's like, that's okay, I don't mind, doesn't bother me. Goes on. And while she's trying to get some work done, the phone rings. So she goes and answers it, and it's one of her friends who is mentioning about who tries to tell her something, and she's like, I can't talk right now. I'm in a very important chapter in this book. And Ethan is making noise in the sink because he's fixing it. And then she hears about something on the television. They're talking about one of her books that's being made into a movie. So she's like, oh, I'm going to go check. So she goes and turns on the TV. And we hear the sound, and there's an interview going on with the director of one of her one of her books that's making it into a movie. And they're talking about how it may be too sensational with too much sex and violence. And he's just like, well, how much is too much? And basically you get the impression that it's turning into some sort of a slasher movie. The director then asks about the scene where the psychotic killer uses a flamethrower on a group of college students, and that throws Jessica right off the rails. She's just like, I didn't write that. That's not my book. I'm going to call my agent and see what can be done about this, even if I have to fly to LA myself. And then she, of course, it cuts to a plane because she has to fly to LA, and she goes to the law offices that has been advised by her agent, Carr, Strindberg, and Roth. And the wonderful the attorney, who I don't think we see much of beyond that. Entirely possible. Let me check here briefly. Maybe, I don't know. Pardon me. Not 100% sure. But we see him talking to her, and they have this little bit of a back and forth where he's just like, I'm not really a criminal attorney. I make deals, and there's some smooth talking, but he basically like ushers her out of the office, like as if to give the impression that I can't really do anything. But why don't you go and see the sights, take in the town for a bit while I make a few calls. Don't worry so much about it. Kind of that thing. So she goes and heads off out. We see the lawyer that's just like, meh, what can I do? Afterwards. Then you see Jessica at the studio gate trying to get through the security guard. And she's like, no, they're making the movie based off my book. I need to get in here. Meanwhile, there's a car in between, and the woman goes and is like, "Don't worry, she can come on as my guest. It's fine. It's fine." So the woman who has invited Jessica in and is kind of letting her, getting her into the lot. We'll get back to in a bit, because then we see the director of the movie and the star pupil in her trailer, and we have a couple of actors here we're going to peek at, because the director is somebody who many people should know. The actor is John Saxon, who has been in quite a lot of things. He's been acting since 1954. He's got acting credits stretching back for years. Lots of TV, lots of movies. The Time Tunnel TV series. He was Marco Polo, apparently. But what people should most know him for, he played Nancy's father on A Nightmare on Elm Street. That's right. As well as the actor John Saxon in Wes Craven's New Nightmare and Nightmare on Elm Street 3. He also played Nancy's father as well. One of the bigger ones. What else did he play in? Banachek. He was in that TV series for one. Gunsmoke. He was like 5 different characters in Gunsmoke, I guess. Over 5 episodes. What else? $6 Million Man. Wonder Woman. He was Captain Radel. The Feminine Mystique, Part 1 and 2. Captain Radel, I think. What else has he been in? We've got some stuff here. Oh, lovely. Sorry about that. Loud banging noises from upstairs. Things getting knocked down. What else? Fantasy Island. He played a lot of characters in Fantasy Island. He's been on a few episodes of that. He was Rashid Ahmed on Dynasty for like 6 episodes. Dynasty is one of those shows that I never get into. Nightmare on Elm Street. Falcon Crest. 32 episodes. Tony Cumson, if anyone has seen Falcon Crest. But the one that I remember him in, the one most people remember him in, is the Nightmare on Elm Street. But he played 3 different characters in Murder, She Wrote. This episode, Jerry Lydecker, the director of the movie, he also played Marco Gambini and in a role like 4 years later, and then 6 years after that, Bernardo Bonelli. So apparently a couple of mobsters and an LA director. He was in Melrose Place as Henry Waxman for a few episodes, if anyone has seen that. From Dusk Till Dawn, the movie, FBI agent Stanley Chase. He played that. So he's been in a few things. And he's still acting today. He's still acting today. One of his most recent one has been in 2017. So sometime this year, Victor Valiant in The Extra. But yeah, he is... Oh, apparently he was also Roper in Enter the Dragon, if any of you have seen that. So that's what he's known for. And then you have the young lady who is with him, Eve Crystal, Melissa Sue Anderson. Only 57 credits. Still been acting today. She's got another one in post-production for this year. But let's see what else she's done. Where's the Murder, She Wrote one? I want to see if she's played anything else in Murder, She Wrote. So this is the 1980s. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Nope. She was just Eve Crystal in Murder, She Wrote. This one episode. She apparently played the TV series 1982 to 83 of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Is that an animated one? Let's have a look. Yep, that's an animated one. She did the voice of Kitty Pryde / Sprite. So she did like 2 voices in that. She was Mary Ingallis Kendall in Little House on the Prairie for like 163 episodes. Wow. And then she did... What else has she done? She played a few roles on The Love Boat. She played Yvette Marcel in the Equalizer TV series. What else has she been in here? She's done the voices of some video game characters and some TV series. X-Men, Emma Frost, and video games. Earthquake in New York. 10.5 Apocalypse, the TV miniseries. She was First Lady Megan Hollister. And apparently Stosh's mother in Veronica Mars, 2014. I guess that's something fairly recent. But yeah, she's best known for like Little House on the Prairie and a few horror movies from the look of it. Which, you know, kind of makes sense that she was playing a role in a horror movie for this one. So those two are in the trailer talking. And there's definitely a hint of some personal relations between the two of them. Very heavy implication as well. And you get the feeling that he is, you know, exercising his control. And he's a little jealous because he suspects she's been sleeping around with somebody, even though she denies it. And he kind of lays it on a bit thick, saying that you know, after this movie comes out, she's going to be a big star. There's not going to be any time in her life for anybody else. But she's not going to be a big star without him. Hint, hint. Then we see the lady that has invited Jessica onto the set. And this lady is Marta Quintessa, who is an actor. She's an actress. Still alive. Apparently she did the voice of Whale on Metalocalypse. If any of you out there know Metalocalypse. Commander-in-Chief TV series. She played Sarah Templeton for a couple of years. 9 episodes in that. All My Children. She was Charlotte Devane for 20 episodes. Hercules, the TV series. Back with 1998 to 1999. She was the voice of Hera for that. Okay. I can dig that. What else has she been in? The Legend of Prince Valiant TV series. She was Queen Guinevere for like 65 episodes. So she's had a pretty good one. No, she wasn't. She was. She was Marie Picard in Star Trek The Next Generation. Oh, that's cool. I like Star Trek. Yep. She was only in the 1 episode of Murder, She Wrote as Marta Quintessa. She is like the head of costume designing and whatnot for that particular, this movie. She's been in a lot of stuff. She's almost as prevalent as John Saxon. So yeah, she shows up, kind of explains things, even gives Jessica a copy of the script for the movie, and invites her into the talks to her and lets her know. Then we see the dude, Jerry Lydecker, the director, leaving the trailer and getting caught up with by the man who wrote the screenplay, who's talking to him about money owed for the script and that things need to be squared and whatnot. And the director basically says that he had to do a page one rewrite on the entire script, to which the writer responds that he just removed all the good acting parts from it just to make it so that his little playmate, that would be Eve Crystal, could be in the movie. So there's a bit of a confrontation going on there. Now the writer guy is Alan Gebhardt. The actor, that's the writer's name, the actor is James MacArthur, who sadly passed away at the age of 72 on 2010. He had quite a lot of work. He was in The Love Boat, Hawaii Five-0, the TV movie. He was in the television series Superboy as Hogan. He was in that one episode of Murder, She Wrote. But he was in a lot of stuff before then. Yep. Danny Williams. Governor Dan Williams in the TV movie, but Danny Williams in the Hawaii Five-0 TV series for 259 episodes. Wow. He was in that a while. Good old Hawaii Five-0. What else has he been in? A lot of older stuff. Because, he started acting in 1953. So by the time, he would have been in his 40s, 50s. Born in 37. So, he would have been in his 50s when Murder, She Wrote came around. Close to it. So, he's been in a few things. Nothing other than that I think anybody would know about. But he plays the writer. And the writer guy has that confrontation. Then Jessica comes along with Marta. And Jessica tries to discuss things with the director then. But he's busy, he says. So they make an appointment for later that day. Because she's very adamant and insistent. Then Jessica sneaks herself onto the movie set to kind of watch how things are. And we get to see a couple more people who end up popping up. You see Eve coming in, ready for the scene, with the... okay, wait, no. I made a mistake. Jerry Lydecker is not the director. He was a producer of the movie. The director of the movie comes in now, yes. The director of the movie is played by a very famous actor, John Astin. And for those who don't know John Astin, he was the original Gomez on the Addams Family television series back in the day. He was that. And apparently he also played Grandpapa Addams in the new Addams Family TV series that came out back in 98-99. But he's been in a shit ton of stuff. He was Terry Duke Tetzlaff in Duckman, Private Dick / Family Man. He was the judge in the Frighteners movie. He did all kinds of uncredited voices in the Twisted Tales of Felix the Cat back in the day, as well as Bull Gator in Tasmania TV series. He played, what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, oh no, sorry. He played 3 roles in Murder, She Wrote. He played this one, Ross Haley, in 1984, Hooray for Homicide. He played Harry Pierce in 3 episodes of Murder, She Wrote, all in 1985. So that's next year, the next season, the second season. That could be interesting to see. And he played Flim Flam, in Flim Flam, I should say, in 1995. That episode, he played Fritz Randall. He played Professor Albert Wickwire in The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., which stars Bruce Campbell. Naturally, Gomez Addams in The Addams Family. Both the animated and the original. The TV series Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. He played Dr. Putrid T. Gangrene in that particular animated TV series. Oh, he was Buddy Ryan in 11 episodes of Night Court. I remember him from that. Oh, he's been in everything. Just about everything. And he's done a lot of voice work over the years, too. For a lot of the... Oh, what's this? Lieutenant Commander Matthew Sherman in Operation Petticoat TV series. Interesting. But yeah, he's been around. He was also Captain John Daly in the original Star Trek, The Conscience of the King episode. He was a voice uncredited in 1966. So that might be the animated series that he did it in. No, it's the original. But so he was a voice anyways on it. He's been in a lot. Good old John Aston. The man's a great actor. So he's explaining, basically explaining to her about this love scene that's going to be happening and the symbolism behind it and whatnot. Then the male co-star in this scene comes out, and the director's like, "So do you have any questions about this scene?" And the guy's just like, "No, we make love. What else is there to know?" After he spent about like all this time explaining how it's, an affirmation of life in this place of darkness and so on and so forth. And then he's like clearing the set, getting ready to shoot. But the actor that played that guy, where is he? That would be him. Scott Bennett, that's the character's name. Morgan Stevens is the actor's name. And he's done a few episodes of Murder, She Wrote. He did this one, Hooray for Homicide. He did one next year as Nick Fulton. And he did one in 1987 as Robert Warren. He hasn't got a lot of acting credits to his name. Where is it? What's something that people would know him in? I don't know if anyone knows Bare Essence television series. He was Larry DeVito. He was in Fame as David Reardon for 27 episodes of Fame. So he was around in that. He was in a few episodes of The Love Boat. An episode of MacGyver. Good old MacGyver. He was also in an episode of Magnum P.I. as Dan Wolfe Driscoll. Way of the Stalking Horse, 1986. And after Murder, She Wrote, he was in an episode of The Law and Harry McGraw, which was a spin-off of Murder, She Wrote, actually. A Year in the Life TV series. He was Nick Diamond in 6 episodes of Melrose Place. He was Lee Bostick in 3 episodes of Murder 1. And he had an episode in Walker, Texas Ranger in 1999. And that's the last credit he's got. So he fell out after like 1999 of acting, I guess. He's still alive according to IMDb, but interesting. So he shows up, the set's being cleared. The director's shouting orders. You can see Jessica watching things as it goes. There's a little bit of smoke. An assistant, the same one that came to get Eve from her dressing room trailer earlier, ushers Miss Fletcher out because they're closing the set because they're about to film the nude scene. Then it goes over to the office of Jerry Lydecker, and she is kind of reading him the riot act about how this particular this movie is not her book. And she said he's basically being all smarmy and telling her that, no, I'm perfectly in my rights to do this. And Jessica's like, but you've changed everything about the story. I'm like, I assume that's why you bought the book. And he's like, nope, I didn't buy the book for the story at all. I bought it for the title. Because the title is The Corpse Danced at Midnight. That's one of the titles of Jessica's book. He's like, I bought it for that. The secretary walks in, and Jessica is saying that she's got rights because she wrote the book, and Lydecker is like, nope, wrong again. It's like, I bought your rights, so I can do whatever I want, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And escorts Jessica out, and she tells Lydecker that she's going to do whatever it takes to stop this movie from happening. Then we see Jessica in her hotel room, and somebody's knocked on the door, so she goes and looks, and there's a young man out there, sent from the law office of the law firm that she had visited earlier in the episode. He's there to help her because he's got the contract from her publisher and whatnot. So she's looking a little bit depressed and whatnot. He comes in with his wonderful little briefcase. He's a very he seems like a man out of his depth, and he's kind of nervous and a little odd. So he goes in and cracks it open, and the actor that played that, yes, Ron Palillo, I think. Yeah, Ron Palillo. Palillo, yeah. He apparently passed away in 2012, but he's been in Midnight Patrol, Adventures in the Dream Zone. He's been voices in all that. What else? He was in an episode of Cagney and Lacey. Some other stuff. Mork and Mindy. He was Sergeant Squealy. The voice, apparently. He was the voice of Sergeant Squealy in Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, Fawn's Hour. I have no idea what that is. But he was also Sergeant Squealy in Laverne and Shirley in the Army. Welcome Back, Kotter. He was Arnold Horshack for all 94 episodes. And those are about it for the big ones. Yeah, he hasn't done a lot. A former child star, apparently. So, interesting. So he goes and brings her the contract, and he starts to read it and explain it, and she just like hand it over, and he's like, "Well, it's in legalese. I mean, you may not be able to understand it, but Jessica's a very smart woman." So after looking over her the rights and whatnot from her agent, she realizes that she did sign it, and she did sign away all her rights to interfere in the movie. So she's just like, oh, well, now I feel foolish. I owe Mr. Lydecker an apology. So she decides to go back to the lot and give him the apology. But he's not at his office. Her secretary is. and she's like, "Oh, I need to talk to him." She's like, "Well, you should call him over the phone tomorrow." And she's like, "What I have to say can't be said over the phone. I need to do this in person." And she goes to the soundstage, where she finds Mr. Lydecker murdered, dead on the ground. She also notices a small gold button on the grass, and she goes to go and get help and runs into a security guard, and the security guard goes with her and sees the body, and then radios it in saying that we got a dead body here, and I think I caught the killer, Jessica Fletcher. So then we cut to the fact that we see a detective looking over the body, and Jessica comes over and starts looking around on the fake grass. And the detective, he's an interesting guy. I like this character a lot. The detective is Lieutenant Mike Hernandez as Jose Perez. That's the actor's name. Born in 1940. He's apparently been in The Mask of Zorro in 1998, The Way of the Gun in 2000, Miami Blues in 1990. New York Undercover TV series, 94 to 96. He was Mike Torres in it. In The Mask of Zorro, he was Corporal Armando Garcia. Law and Order, he was in an episode of. Miami Vice, he was in a couple episodes of. As Gregory Miracle Man Esteban and Juan Carlos Silva. What else? On the Rocks TV series. Calucci's Department TV series. He's been a few things, episodes, but that's about it. The East Side West Side TV series as Tony and as Paco in 2 different episodes. So not a lot. According to this, the last movie he did was Way of the Gun. And I have no idea what he was in. Like what character he was playing, because it doesn't say here. But he plays a very short detective. I mean, he's like very short. And of course, Jessica is there looking for this button, and she's explaining it to him that that the button was there, and it may have been a valuable clue. So they both look for it. They can't find it. And she's adamant that it was right there. So maybe, she's like, maybe the real killer was hiding behind the set. And after she went to go and get the security guard, he had just enough time to run out and get the button and cover his tracks. And the good old Mike seems to be quite impressed with this logic. And then he finds out that her name is Jessica Fletcher, or Fletcher, and he's like, "That's the name on the one who did who wrote the book, J.B. Fletcher." She's like, "The B stands for Beatrice," she says. "Jessica Beatrice Fletcher." And he's like, "That's you. You wrote the book." He's like, "I'm a writer myself. I got a screenplay that I've been working on, trying to get an agent to take." Because he's an LA police officer. Of course he has a screenplay. And there's some interesting things, because then the director and the costume lady come in looking for the whole looking to see what the problem is, because there's police and sirens out. And then they find out that nope, Jerry Lydecker is now dead. And the Marta there, she has a bit of almost a fainting spell. She's very upset. Uh, there's some questions being asked and whatnot, and they basically get Jessica, Marta does, gets Jessica to go and break the news to Eve, because Eve's at home at Jerry Lidecker's beach house. And it's not, it's not Marta that does it. The police detective does it. Even though she asks him, shouldn't the police be the one to break it? And he's like, usually yes, but not if we can get somebody else to do the job for us, which is kind of weird. So she shows up and finds Eve drunk off her ass. Absolutely drunk off her ass, having scotch and cola. And Jessica's definitely a little bit like, kind of weird. But she's drinking scotch and Diet Cola. And there's a wonderful little exchange as they're talking back and forth. Jessica's making some small talk. And the Eve is quite sauced at this point. And it gets to the point where Eve suggests going skinny dipping to Jessica Fletcher. It's like, why don't we do that? That'll be fun. You're so serious all the time. And Jessica's like, some cold water might do you good. And ushers her off and proceeds to give her a very, very cold shower to sober her up. And then wraps her up in a towel, and Jessica says, come on, we'll get you warmed up. I'll go put the kettle on. And then it's a much more pleasant conversation as they're talking over a cup of tea. And she kind of explains that she shouldn't drink alone anymore. Then the news gets broken that Mr. Lidecker is dead and that's been murdered. Poor Eve breaks down in tears. And then the next thing you see is a whole bunch of reporters in the lobby of Jessica's hotel as Jessica comes in, and Mike comes up with her to talk to her some more, where he kind of lets it be known to Jessica that, she is a pretty good suspect. And Jessica's like, you think I'm responsible? He's like, of course not. I know you didn't kill anybody, but the evidence is kind of pointing at you. You're a pretty good suspect. Now, he wants some help from her. Because he's like, you should really help. I mean, would you have any opinions on this? And she's like, no, I'm not a crime solver. I'm not a detective. I'm planning on going home to Cabot Cove, Maine tomorrow. Unless, of course, that's not going to be possible. And it's not because he's just like, you should stay in town. So you see Jessica talking to the writer guy, and they have a very pleasant enough conversation, where she picks up some of those little tidbits about what's going on, about how Mr. Lidecker was, and so on. They do have a very pleasant conversation, and they move on. Jessica goes and into the set, and there is the graveyard scene with like neon tombstones and a dance number, and it's extremely surreal. I mean, the gates are even neon. And there's a wonderful little, we're going to do a little kiss here. And the screen goes all weird redly because of the effects that's being used. and then it's over. And Jessica's just like, this is all very weird. I mean, this originally had a marching band, like a school marching band. The director is basically talking to one of the assistants. He's saying, get this cleaned up. Needs to be more smoke over there. We need to reshoot this right. It didn't look right. And you see Marta talking with Jessica about the costumes and whatnot. That there had to be new costumes because she didn't like the old one, like the old costume that would have been for the scene. So there had to be new stuff. And the detective comes in, and he's like, "Calm down, everybody." The director is like, "This is a closed set. You can't be here." Now the secretary is with the detective and asks a few leading questions where we see the secretary basically spouting off what Jessica had said, how she was going to stop the movie by any means necessary, and how what she had to say to him couldn't be said over the phone. And then Jessica gets arrested for murder. Dun dun dun. Of course, the very next scene you see Mike at the police station with Jessica offering her a cup of coffee. And he's like, no, I'm not arresting you. I just had to make it look good. Because now the real killer thinks they're off the hook. And me and you, we can solve this case together. We can get the real killer out. So he definitely seems like a bit of a proactive detective. Not one that's in over his head. He seems quite smart. But he's planning on using Jessica to make sure that the case gets solved. Because he suspects that she's got some particular motivation to get this case solved now. Now, she's in her hotel room writing down some stuff. Norman comes in, and she's like, "I need you to help me, Norman." Even though he's like, "I'm just a junior partner. I'm nobody." So she gives him a list of things that she needs him to find out, like the drug and alcohol problems that the writer fellow had, Mr. Gerbhardt, the relationship here, the money issues here. For this guy, for the director, all these different things she needs to find out. And she's like, go find this information out for me. It's vitally important. And then she asked if he has any contacts at the studio. And he does. So you see Jessica coming in on a tour bus and sneaking off from the tour into a private movie studio. And some guy in the projector, who we find out is Norman's uncle, is running the film for her, showing her what the director was looking at. The last film he was looking at the day he died. And what you see is the main actress, Eve, and Mr. Bennett there, Scott Bennett, that actor, having a bit of a kissy-kissy love time even before the scene happens. They seem to be quite into it, which leads Jessica to believe that, they were having a lovely affair. Then she tracks down Scott Bennett and flatters him. Absolutely shamelessly flatters him. Because she's good at that sort of thing. And she's all making it seem like she's like this small town lady. Everything's so exciting here. Kind of playing it that she's not as smart as she thinks she is. And he gives her a signed autograph, which she is like all delighted about. And then she's like, but shouldn't you want to give this to Eve? Because it's like hugs and kisses, it says on it. And he's like, well, what makes you think that? And she's like, well, you just told me that you do. At which point, the guy comes, and the assistant guy, and is like, "You're wanted on the set." So he goes to head off. He's all in a huff now, and then he grabs his photo back from Jessica. Then we go over to the ladies' wardrobe, where you see an older actress that Jessica is befriending, named Eleanor, who is played by Virginia Mayo. Yeah, she died in 2005, age of 84. Peach's Delight in 12 episodes of Santa Barbara, the TV series. She was Eleanor in 1984. She's done a lot of stuff. A lot of movies. But that was her only episode in Murder, She Wrote. And her last acting role was in 1997. She's apparently best known for White Heat with James Cagney. The Best Years of Our Lives. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. 1947. Not the newer one with what's-his-face. And Captain Horatio Hornblower. All before, basically 1951 and before, are the roles she was most known for, according to IMDb. And you get to see them looking through all the costumes and whatnot. And Jessica makes an ask about a drum majorette's costume that's not here. And Eleanor's like, well, I know who took it because I haven't brought it back. So you next see Jessica knocking on a trailer door. It's, I believe, Eve's trailer door. And in they go. In Jessica goes, only to get barreled down by some guy. And she runs out and is like, stop that man. And then you see Norman on the set as the producer, or the director. Mr. Daly, John Astin, is running. And Norman goes and kind of tackles him to the ground. Just keeping him there, just in time for the police to show up. And, of course, they're about to search Mr. Haley. When he's like, you can't search me, I haven't done anything wrong. And Jessica's like, or Mike's like, I'm pretty sure he's right. She's like, he knocked me down, detective. And then the detective's like, oh, that's right. That's felonious assault. Search him. So they search him. And what do they find in his pockets? What do they find but a small gold button? That's the button that Jessica was going to find. So they arrest Mr. Haley. And Norman gives her all this information. The fact that what's-his-face, the writer guy, Mr. Gerbhardt, has kicked drugs, but he's still got a problem with alcoholism. The director is in dire need of money. Miss Eve is actually diabetic, and there was another piece of information I can't remember, but it's not terribly important in the grand scheme of things. So then you see Jessica heading off with Norman, and she's got a party to attend. And you see Mr. Gerbhardt and Mr. Bennett and Miss Eve Crystal and Marta all there, along with Jessica. And Mr. Gerbhardt's about to have himself a glass of champagne when Jessica suggests getting some Diet Cola in the house. And he's like, yeah, I probably should. So there's a little toast, I guess you could say. Mr. Bennett goes and drinks his before Jessica can make her toast, even though she thinks that there's some people that won't like what she has to say. And she finally does offer her little toast that to Mr. Haley, the director, who is being wrongly accused of murder. And that does put a bit of a damper on things. So Mr. Gerbhardt and Marta go and excuse themselves almost immediately after this. Oh my, could they be involved? Could they be involved in this whole thing? This murder? Jessica sees them out of the little guest house, Mr. Lydecker's, where they're having this little party. She says goodbye to them. As she's seeing them out, Eve and Scott are having a little bit of a talk. Scott's planning on heading out because he's got some other things to do, but he'll call her. He'll definitely call her. He'll call her, he says. And you get the impression he's not going to call. He's a bit of a douchebag like that. And then Eve is all unhappy because she made that toast at that time and broke up the party. And Jessica goes and talks to Eve and accuses her of being the murderer and lays it all out for Eve Crystal and how she did it. The fact that the Mr. Haley, he's definitely being arrested because he did commit a crime. He was covering up for Eve because he needed this movie to be a success because he needs the money. Even if it's not a big success, he needed the money. So he was protecting Eve for his own self-interest. And Eve was wearing that drum majorette's costume when she killed him because he was confronting her about her affair with Scott and that, he was going to fire him from this movie completely because he can always find another actor. There hasn't been too many scenes with it. He'd never work in this town again. That sort of thing. So she immediately grabs the urn and cracks him on the head and is like, oh no, and drops it and runs off and comes home here. And she thought she'd make it think like she was drinking all day. But she's a diabetic and they really aren't supposed to have alcohol. And even if they were, anyone knows you don't mix scotch with Diet Cola. Which, of course, Jessica knows these things. And she ends up getting this tearful confession out of Eve and having some, just getting her to admit to herself what went on. And she does confess. She does confess. And she only attacked Mr. Lydecker to help Scott, but right at the end she basically is like, between Lydecker and Scott, she sure knows how to pick him, doesn't she? And Jessica's looking on sadly when the credits roll. And that's the end of that episode, where she has solved this murder. And it's not one where it ends on a high note either. It kind of ends on a bit of a low note, and it's like, oh, poor girl. So sad. But that's it for this episode of the Murder, She Wrote Rewatch podcast. I'm looking forward to the next episode in the wonderful little series. What one is it here? Let's take a little peek, see. The next episode is It's a Dog's Life. There's infighting and backstabbing galore when a millionaire snubs his family and leaves most of his estate to a dog. Ha ha ha. That should be interesting. Looking forward to that. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. And throw a comment in the comment section. Do you like Murder, She Wrote? What do you think of some of the big name actors that do the cameos, like John Aston and John Saxon in this one? Oh, I do enjoy me some crime drama. This was an interesting and amusing little episode, just because you get to see all these wonderful people in Hollywood back in the day. Oh my, and the weirdness around Hollywood at the time. So yes, do all that, and until next time, my friends, you all take care, and I'll see you for the next murder.